All right, and we're live. Hey, everyone, and welcome. My name is John Neral. I want to welcome you to my weekly Facebook Live, and I am simply beyond honored to have a really dear friend and amazing coach colleague join me tonight. Would you please welcome Natalie Siston from Small Town Leadership. Hey, Natalie.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here with you tonight, John.
Yeah, same. We got a chance to catch up a little bit beforehand and everything. And Natalie and I actually met in our coach certification program, which was IPEC, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can simply talk to us at any point in time. You can go to ipeccoaching.com. That's where we got certified, and we made some really good friendships and connections through IPEC. You'd agree, huh?
We did. I feel blessed to have met all the wonderful people, especially you.
Yeah, same. Absolutely. So look, Natalie, as we're welcoming people into the room, let me just take care of a little housekeeping for everybody. So if you're joining us for the first time, you picked a great night to join, and welcome. If you've been here before, it's great to have you back. As I mentioned, my name is John Neral. I help professionals who are ambitious about their careers create their next advancement opportunity. And I've got a wonderful resource that's available on my website at johnneral.com/free. It's called 3 Steps to Creating Your Next Advancement Opportunity Without Feeling Overwhelmed. It helps you basically take some very clear action steps in order to help you figure out what is next for you in your career. So you can go to my website, enter in your information, you'll get the workbook, and it also puts you into my email community where I email everyone 3 times a week around a particular leadership and career topic. And if you've been following along this week and you're on the email list, you know I've been sharing a lot about how Natalie and I got connected through IPEC and how our friendship has grown ever since. And so tonight's topic is all about thinking small. And so Natalie, before we really even get into that, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So I am a current resident of Dublin, Ohio, which is in central Ohio, but I got my start in Republic, Ohio, population 600, and that's in the northwest part of Ohio. And it was there that I learned my top leadership lessons in life. I went from a very small town to one of the biggest universities in the country. I went to The Ohio State University. I'm a proud 2-time Buckeye. And it's there I met my husband. And we ventured off to Silicon Valley, where he went to grad school and I started my career. But we knew we wanted to come home, and came back about 13 years ago, almost to the day, John. Actually,
wow.
Now that I think about it, we might have made landfall back in Ohio on around July 10th, what year would it have been? 2006. And the last 11 years have been honestly a blur of going back to graduate school, starting work at a big company. I'm employed by Nationwide, and also starting my own adventure, which was a product of coaching. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later. But I live kind of what I call a dual life, where I have a really big, great job by day. I'm the director of coaching at Nationwide Insurance for our sales, for our Nationwide financial sales organization. And then I run Small Town Leadership when I'm not busy with my big job and my family, which includes my husband and my 2 young daughters who are 7 and 9, our dog, and our 2 guinea pigs. So it's kind of, my world encompasses coaching, leadership, speaking, and writing. And I couldn't have imagined where this journey would have taken me, but that's all part of the fun in our next advancement opportunity.
Yeah, and one of the things I just admire, respect, and love about you is that for as busy as you are, you definitely find time to really make the connections you need to make in your life, and putting family first, and just being able to be there for them and your jobs and everything. And I think that's just a great balance and life lesson that you've been able to do really well.
I did think about wearing a softball hat and my eye black tonight, but I left that for tomorrow night. John and I joke because my daughter plays softball, and because we had such a wet spring and early summer, we're in makeup season right now, and I've been on the softball field every day for the past 5 days, and tonight's my night off.
Well, I appreciate you making time for us tonight, and we were joking beforehand how we could have done this like Hoda and Kathy Lee and had a little glass of wine going on, but it's just water, nothing too exciting and everything. So Natalie, just tell us a little more about what your mission is for small town leadership.
Absolutely. Well, my mission for small town leadership is to help make our big world feel like a smaller place. I feel like even though we are living in this very connected world right now, we're actually quite disconnected and we're actually pretty lonely. So what I want to do with small town leadership, what I am doing with small town leadership, is reminding people about what it's like to truly connect with one another, to truly have a relationship with one other person, one person at a time, because that's how we build our community. That's how we build relationships. That's what I learned growing up in Republic, Ohio. I learned how to have powerful one-to-one relationships. I learned how to get to know people at a deeper level than hey, how you doing? Great, move along. And that's what I'm bringing to the world with small town leadership is how do we do that day in, day out with intention, so that way we can feel more connected, not only to our community, to the world around us, but to ourselves too. Because in this disconnection that we're experiencing, we become disconnected with ourselves. And if we can connect with ourselves in the midst of this, we show up really a lot better for everybody else in our life.
I love how you say that. And you and I have certainly talked a lot about what it means to show up and what it means to connect and really take the time to be intentional about building that relationship one step at a time. So as we're talking tonight, the theme is about what it means to think small. And so let's put this up here, right? So how small steps lead to big change. So talk to us a little bit about what that means for you and why it's so important.
Well, I'll go back to the time when I hired a coach and how this concept almost started for me about 5 years ago. So at the time I was in a role that I loved. I was leading a team I adored, and we were doing really well. I got a great review, a great bonus. I should have been sitting at the top of the world. I should have been like sitting back, living the high life, just, cashing it in and saying, let's just have days like this every day. But there was something missing. There was this that wasn't there. I was kind of in this meh phase. So John, I'm just explaining some very technical coaching terms, meh.
I love math.
Energetic levels.
Great way to break through that, right?
And I happened to sit by a facilitator at a work event a few weeks after this realization of this mehness and spilled my guts to her. And she said, well, I'm a coach and I help people work through that. Do you want to talk? And I was thinking, well, cool. I've never heard of this coaching thing. Let's talk about it. So I hired her and we worked together for 6 months. And during the 6 months, she had me peel the onion of childhood and what I loved doing then and what I was missing in my life now. And we came up with 2 simple, small steps. They were to speak more and write more. Those are things I've done since I was yay high in my 4-H club. I was always doing public speaking and writing all kinds of stuff as a kid. And so the small steps that my coach had me take were the first steps in the journey that you've seen me go on. That then led to me saying, I think there's a bigger theme around this, because anytime I spoke or wrote about things, it was about growing up in a small town. And I soon realized that my leadership style, the way I show up in the world is small town. That's where small town leadership comes from. And so I did what the next small step is, and I went and bought a website, which I didn't know. No one taught me how to do that, John. You don't learn that in college.
No, not at all.
If anyone's wondering how you do that, you go to GoDaddy and you search the domain you want to buy. Once I heard that, I was like, oh, is that all it takes? But from then, John, it was just one step after another. It was learning how to build a website. It was learning how to get content up. It was feeling comfortable putting myself out into the world. On March 16th, 2016, when I hit go live, I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And, the earth still continued to go on its axis. But from that point forward, 3 years ago, it's been one step by one step by one step. And some of those key steps for me were becoming a coach myself, which was sitting down with someone internally at my company who said, have you thought about becoming a coach? I said, it's funny you say that, because hiring a coach kind of kicked this thing off. People keep telling me I should consider it. And you and I then ended up in that classroom together, November of 2016 together. And from there, it's been a journey of becoming a coach, opening a coaching practice, adding that to the offerings of small town leadership, and speaking that out loud and speaking that desire out loud to people led me to be in my current role, which was yet another step. That felt actually pretty big for me.
Yeah.
But the conversations that happen one at a time are those small steps that end up adding to that big change. And had I not done all these small steps leading up to it, there's no way I'd be doing the type of work I am today, both at a big corporation and in my own business.
Yeah, one of the things I love about when you're talking about small steps is that if you think about our collective but also our individual coach journey and what it's meant for us to build our businesses in this way. And I know, you've got clients and I've got clients, and certainly we've got a great coach community where I think in some ways we've all kind of led this parallel fear in some ways that we're going to start putting our content out there, and then all of a sudden, what's next? What's going to happen? And sometimes we put content out there and we don't get a reaction. We don't get a like or a love or even any kind of comment or anything. We just put it out there, and then weeks or months down the road, we get somebody that says, "Oh, I saw your blog post," or "I saw your Instagram photo," or an interview that you did that just inspired me. I mean, those are the kind of things where it's a big step in some way, but it really is that small step that we just gradually kind of start putting ourselves out there, that then that proverbial snowball keeps going and rolling, and it gets to be really, really big.
It does, and all of a sudden you've amassed this body of content that not only are you known by, but that becomes, your calling card, and it becomes the thing that you can get booked on big stages to speak about. It's the things that people are calling you up to be on their podcast or their show about because they're excited that you're putting yourself out in the world. I mean, a year and a half ago, much to the thanks to you and your coaching, John, I started putting videos out on a weekly basis. I put videos out into the world, and I shot them in my home office right here where I am. The background will look very familiar to anyone who watches my videos. And I shot them with my phone. I didn't do anything fancy. I just posted them right to social media. And now I can't go anywhere, whether it be inside the organization I work or just broadly in the community, where people say, "Oh, I saw your video. I watched your video." And guess what? They're not hitting the thumbs up. They're not adding a comment, but they're watching. They're listening. They're paying attention. And sometimes that's the support when you have it, that it helps you keep going and taking that next step, because as well as I do that this journey of running your own business is challenging and rewarding and frightening and exhilarating. It's all the feelings, basically.
Well, I'm not as tech savvy as you, so I actually hired a web developer to build my website, lynncoffey.com, COFFEY, and give her a shout out there. But one of the things that she told me as we were starting to do work together is that every piece of content that you create goes up on your website and gets housed for exactly the reason you were talking about, which is that all of a sudden we have this portfolio or body of work of content that we've created. But in all honesty, Natalie, for the first time in my career, after I had my business for more than a year, I felt like I could go back and see everything I had created and done because it was housed in one place.
Right. I mean, imagine all your work projects in one place. That's, yeah. And to see your own progression is amazing in that process as well. To see your writing at the beginning and your writing now, it's crazy to see just the depth and the clarity and the more specificity you get. It's great.
So I like to call you a connections expert. Fair enough, right? And we'll get to some more stuff of that. But talk to us a little bit about why this whole concept of connection and the power of connection is so important and meaningful to you.
Well, when I was starting my speaking journey, which began in 2008, I realized I was getting asked to speak about networking a lot because people saw me as this best networker. Even today, someone called me the best networker they know. And I always cringe on the inside when I hear that. It's just like no, because when I think networking, I think kind of sleazy, slimy, like business card, this for that type of thing. The kind of taking, not giving. And so when I relabeled that connecting, it all of a sudden felt a lot better to me because to your point earlier, I make a concerted effort to connect with other people. I am highly introverted by nature. So our conversation tonight, that's the two of us happening, and we've got some folks watching and we're really excited about that. But honestly, it just needs to be you and me. And that's where the connection is so important. I think right now we're living in a very divided and divisive world where black, white, yours, mine, I can't, you win, I lose type of thing. And I think the more we can think about connecting personally with the person in front of us, regardless of any beliefs or any affiliations, anything like that, we can step in and get to know that person, truly connect with them. That's when we start to build bridges. That's when we start to have greater understanding. It's our path to inclusion. And that's where the power of connection comes from me. It's if I can look at you and know you, truly you, not your persona online, not your Facebook post, but truly know you. And for some people, John, that means that I have one 15-minute conversation with them. One thing I've started doing recently, which I would suggest everybody do, is, pick one person you're friends with on social media who you want to get to know better and ask them for a conversation. Whether you can meet up in person because you're local, you can do what we're doing and be on video conference, or you simply have a phone call. It's 15 to 30 minutes out of your week where you get to know just a little bit more about that person. And for me, what's been great about that is there's been no sales in that regard. It's simply getting to know someone. I feel like we're in a world sometimes where you feel like you have to connect to get the next client or the next gig. But this is all simply, I'm curious, I want to get to know you. And those conversations have been so powerful, and I just feel so connected to the world because I'm connecting one-to-one with all of these really cool people.
It's such a powerful message, and in addition to all of that, as you're sharing, it's the opportunity to slow down and build the relationship, to really get invested in another person, to ask them questions about them, to engage them at a more meaningful or substantial level, as opposed to, like you said earlier, about, hi, how are you? And we're just saying it because it might seem a little rote or robotic, and we're not really invested or engaged in that. So I love how you're talking about just being able to pause a little bit and get to know someone a little more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are the values that you learned from growing up in a small town?
Well, I am lucky in this one that I get to not only give you my thoughts, but also the thoughts I've crowdsourced from the people I interview for my blog. I do a feature called From a Small Town to Making It Big. So if any of you listening are from a town of 10,000 or under, that's what I consider a small town. You made it big or know someone, let me know. But through those interviews and through my own work, the values that keep coming forward that I agree with wholeheartedly are work ethic. Work ethic by far is what I'm hearing. And granted, I'm talking to a lot of Midwest farm people because that's kind of where I sit. We all started working when we were little. I have been working since I was 12 years old. And so I'm basically ready to retire at the age of 39 right now, if only. But everyone works. You either help out on the family farm, or you work in the community, you babysit, you do something, you work. That's one of the things you do. And there's no question about that. You just do it. So for me, that's meant I walked into the workplace and I'm just really willing to do it. I don't care if I show up somewhere and you tell me you have to move tables today. I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I look for when I hire someone. I don't want someone to say, oh, that's not my job description. I'm not going to touch the chair. It's like, no. You're going to lift the chair and you're going to bring it here and we're going to do this together and get it done. That's the type of people that I rally around, and probably the core ethic of the value that I got growing up in Republic, Ohio. And then also just the sense of togetherness and pulling together, especially in times of crisis or need. So if there was ever anyone ill, tragically killed, home fires, tornadoes were big where I grew up. The community didn't hesitate. They just showed up. They were there. After I'd moved to California, my best friend's house was destroyed in a tornado. Her parents still lived there. And I remember my dad going over the next day to help just sift through the things, because that's what you do in a small town. You just show up and you help. And he said he found a trinket in the yard of something I got her from a vacation when I was in 3rd grade. And he found this, almost 15 years later in a yard strewn of tornado things. That's what you do in a small town. You just show up. So it's this togetherness, it's this connectedness, once again, and being willing to roll up your sleeves.
Nice. I love that. That's great. And I think your message is so powerful too, because there are lessons from a small town that are very different in some ways from lessons in a big town. And it's nice to hear all that. So thanks for sharing that. All right. So for those of you that have been listening to my Facebook Lives, you have heard me talk about Natalie's LinkedIn pledge. And yeah, I know, right? And so I definitely want us to spend a little time on this. So would you please tell everyone, because I want them to hear it from you, what is the LinkedIn pledge?
Well, will you play along and do it with me, John?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so context for those watching. So usually if I'm speaking and doing a speaking gig on networking, I have everyone take the LinkedIn oath. So I say, please raise your right hand. You say, repeat after me, I promise.
I promise.
To always.
To always.
Include a personal message.
Include a personal message.
When inviting someone to connect with me on LinkedIn.
When inviting someone to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Do we have to do it again, John, do you think? Or do we got it?
I think I got it. Yeah, it's
okay, we got it. Cool.
Because I follow your oath, so it's good.
I don't know for the children viewing at home.
Yeah.
I have audiences do this. I particularly like doing this with young adults, college students, because for a long time, and I still do, we all do get the anonymous, just I want to link in with you kind of thing. And because I want that one-to-one connection, because I want to pull you out through the computer screen, through my phone screen, I want to know why people want to connect. Mm-hmm. And likewise, I want people to know why I want to connect with them. So I always include a personal message when I'm linking in with someone. I did like 4 today, I think. But I think on the phone, it's sometimes hard for people because it's not as intuitive. So mm-hmm. So here's your tip when you're doing this on the phone. Click on the 3 dots. It's like click on a person's head until you see 3 dots, click on the 3 dots and hit personalized invite. That's how you get there. When you're doing it on the computer, it'll pop up a note to say, do you want to include a personal note? Right. Yes. So I just find this a way to open dialogue, and that's where some of these offline connections have come from me, is I felt the warmth in those introductions, and they're genuine. They're not salesy. It's not I sell this and I do that, because that can get a little off-putting for me. Sure. But the true, genuine, hey, I've been following your work and it'd be great to be connected, or hey, I'm curious about blah, blah, blah. It's easy, it's simple, and mm-hmm. and it helps you just know that person has taken a little bit of time to get to know you. Plus, I love doing 6 degrees of separation, so I always check to see who our shared connections are. And there are some groupings of shared connections where I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a fabulous dinner party. We need to make that happen.
That's great. So what do you do when somebody sends you a connection request and they haven't attached a note to it?
Well, in the past, when I was a little more harsh about this, I put them in what I call LinkedIn purgatory. So I simply left their invitation unanswered. I just simply let it lie. Now, however, because I've grown up and matured in my thinking, I will send them, I will accept the invitation, and then I will send a note to say, thanks so much for connecting. If there's anything specific that caught your eye or you want to chat about, let me know. Mm-hmm. And in some cases that garners a back and forth. I helped someone get connected with a recruiter once out of that.
Nice.
And in some cases they're just like, no, I just thought you'd be interesting to follow, or it'd be good to be in your network, and we leave it at that.
Nice. Yeah.
I try to be the bigger person.
Right. Well, it's good nobody's in like LinkedIn purgatory now, right? That's a good thing. When I get requests like that there's not a message attached to it, I'll always respond. But I'll ask something like, hey, thanks so much for sending me a connection request. It's great to be connected here, because now you've got a little more characters. I'm just really curious, what was your reason or motivation for wanting to connect with me? And then people tend to answer a very specific question. So whether it's based on my past career history, or it's the fact that I am a coach, or there's a mutual connection and someone said, hey, they thought we should connect or whatever, it opens up that dialogue that now I have a better opportunity to keep the conversation flowing and go from there.
Great technique. Yeah,
absolutely. So so let me just so if anybody has any questions, feel free to go ahead and pop them in the comment box, and we'll pop them up here so Natalie can go ahead and answer. We've got a couple comments, and our friend David is in here. We remember David from our training, David Deal.
Hi, David.
Yeah, and Ken, who's a faithful listener, he's been chiming in. He's a coach as well, so it's good to see both of them hanging in here. But if anybody else wants to put a question or comment in, please go ahead and do so. Natalie, on your website at Small Town Leadership, you have an incredible program for people to learn more about connection. And I want you to tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Last year, I embarked on a journey to write a 52-week series, and I called it 52 Weeks of Meaningful Connections, with the idea of how can I do a little bit every week to either teach or motivate, educate, inspire everyone to connect more meaningfully with those around them. So there are 52 weeks of content readily available on my website, or you can simply sign up at the 52 Weeks of Meaningful Connections portion of my website, and you'll get one article dropped to you each week, so you can truly do things 1 week at a time. And I think, once again, John, that goes to this whole small bites at a time. Right. I find that writing the series was truly transformational. I didn't have the content all baked before I put it out in the world. Mm-hmm. I had a general idea of types of things I wanted to cover. But what I found through writing the series is that the person I connected to the most in this entire experience, 52 weeks of talking about everything from the LinkedIn oath to sending a great email introduction, to hosting a good business meeting, to watching out for our devices getting in the way of our connection. It got, toward the end, it got deep and it got personal for me. Mm-hmm. And the person that I connected with the most out of this whole series was myself. I learned who I was through the process of trying to get to know other people better. And I think because I was stepping into my own self, my own truth more in week after week, people saw that. It was easier for them to then connect with me. And it was easier for me to go deeper and more meaningfully, much more quickly. So I invite anyone who feels like they're struggling a little bit with forming connections, maybe just getting out there and meeting people is very challenging for them. This series will help you with that. Or if you already feel like you're a good networker, this just will help remind you of things you're probably already doing, but how do you just do it a little bit better? Mm. And it's been great to get the responses from those who are going through the journey week by week, because I see them come around to different themes for themselves.
Yeah, and I remember when you were creating all this content and building it, and it was a gift to kind of follow you as you were going through it and seeing the transformation over the weeks, and how the 52 Weeks of Meaningful Connections really took on a life of its own to be not only a personal transformation, but also a real mission for you and your clients, both current and future, as well as just how that all plays out for you in work and life. So I think that was great.
It's awesome. Yeah, I think we're all looking to connect, and sometimes the person we need to connect with first is ourselves.
Yeah. So you can find all of that information on Natalie's website at smalltownleadership.com, and that website is up there right now, so you can take that and go ahead and pop that into your browser and sign up for her 52 weeks. So Natalie, we are really, really close to time. And so with that, I'm going to ask you the one question I wrap up every interview with, which is this: what is your advice for someone creating their next advancement opportunity?
It is to be open to the possibility. When I do speaking to a lot of younger students, particularly high school girls, I talk to them about they don't know what's possible because they don't know what's possible. So I think right now, if you're thinking about your next advancement opportunity and you're just feeling overwhelmed, first of all, John's got something for you on that, right? But if you're feeling overwhelmed, know that what's in front of you, you may not even know. And what you need to do is you need to take one step at a time to uncover your own possible, because your possible is going to be different than the person who sits next to you, than the person you went to school with, than your best friend from high school. Your possible is waiting for you. It's just waiting for you to uncover it. And you need to do that authentically. You need to do that honestly. And you need to do that for yourself. Well said. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. All right. We've gotten a few more people here that's been watching and follow along. I don't see any questions that are in the queue, which I think means we got them all answered for everybody. So that's good. So Natalie, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way? Well, obviously they can go on LinkedIn and send me a personal note and connect with me there. That is the place that I'm most active on social media. But I'm in all the places, namely Facebook and Instagram, but LinkedIn's where I hang out the most. Or you can email me, Natalie@smalltownleadership.com. I'm happy to enter into a dialogue and chat with you more about this mission. Maybe you grew up in a small town and you've got lessons you want to impart, or maybe you're ready to go on a similar journey. Nice. Great. Well, I hope people will reach out and again, take a look at 52 weeks of meaningful connections and all the stuff you're doing with small town leadership. Natalie, thank you so much for being a guest on my show tonight. It was terrific to be with you. Thanks so much, John. Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. We wish you a great rest of the night. Be safe. And if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to give it a like, hit the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes drop. And in the meantime, I'll see you next week with another show. So take care and have a good rest of the night. Natalie, thanks again.